I'm the Evil Lord of Intergalactic Empire, written by Mishishima and illustrated by Nadare Takamine. And this is the same author who did Trapped in a Demon Simulator, so it's gonna have some similarities between the old one, but not necessarily too similar. If you already read the Trapped in the Demon Simulator, it's basically its own story, but it has similar art style. But the difference is basically like they're different, actually illustrated by different Petersons. From one hand, this one's from illustrator from Nadari Takamin, and then this one's illustrated from Manda. So they're like looking at the covers are basically different. It's like they look the same essentially, but different illustrators. So there's that. Volume 2 also looks quite nice as well, in my opinion, because you get, I mean, currently there's only 2 physical volumes released, but this is what I like. Like, both of the volumes look nice, in my opinion, just pure cover art. It's just, I mean, you get, like, the center stage of Liam, which is the main character in this story, with basically you get some side characters as well, or some like other characters. She does not show up till like later in the volume, actually pretty late, so it's just more of less, I guess, a cover grabber more so than anything. I mean, in these volumes, he basically has Kurt right here, Christina, he has a maid robot, and Eulalia, because like I said, this is just Liam, he's the main character. It's essentially, it's another isekai, so it's another isekai, just in case if you're wondering. Yes, it's an isekai, so if that's not your thing, please just leave immediately. I'm just saying this extra hand. This is published through 7 Seas under their Airship Entertainment for 15 US, or approximately about like 19 or 18 Canadian, depending on where you're located. This is part of their English translation, and basically it is defined under 13 plus or teen, and it has the genres of comedy, harem, isekai, or whatever, another world. It's also a light novel, and it also has sci-fi. But this has like magic too in it, so hey, it's like magic sci-fi. In that aspect, in the way they describe it is a hilarious sci-fi isekai about a guy who just can't manage to be the villain he wants to be, from the author of Trapped in Dating Simulator, The World of Otome. Games is for tough mom, is for moms, and basically there's also a manga of this as well. But personally, the light novel, there's like 2 of them. This goes up to basically when he goes to the academy, and essentially, or academy, I guess, just he goes to another noble to learn of their ways, but he basically discovers it's not necessarily something that he primarily wanted to do, or he found like he was basically like there's this whole like entity being called the guide, who basically is meddles in Liam's life. He basically ruined Liam's life. It's kind of there early on in the story, so it's not really a spoiler more so than anything. But the synopsis goes as following. In his last life, Liam lived as a moral, responsible person, but died deep in debt and betrayed by his wife. Reborn into the ruling family of a vast interstellar empire, Liam knows that life is divided between the downtrodden and the ones who do stomping, so this time he's just going to take what he wants and live for himself, but somehow things refuse to work out for his way. Despite doing his very best to become a tyrant, Liam's decisions lead to nothing but peace and prosperity for the empire under his rule, and he just gets more and more popular. It's essentially kind of, he tries to be, it's like Eminence in the Shadow in a way. It's basically like the Eminence in the Shadow, but in kind of, I guess, it's not like Eminence in the Shadow actually, but it's basically, hey, this is the android maid robot. They're technically despised against the Empire or whatever organization. So he basically can't, Liam right here cannot trust humans. So he gets a maid robot, essentially upgrades it with the latest features, kind of gets judged, but he makes a friend out of Kurt here, and then he also has a friend out of Elila. It's Aeila, essentially Elia, however you pronounce it, Elia. Basically, Elia is just a Fujiyoshi, kind of implied, or actually probably later confirmed, but it's kind of early on too as well, roughly, probably mid. So anyways, I personally would just say, hey, go ahead and read it. It's entertaining and all that. It has some comedic moments. Basically, he constantly thinks he's doing evil things, but really everyone else just sees him as some kind of benevolent ruler, and even he explicitly says he's evil, and he actually even tells it to Kurt here in the second volume. Kurt rather thinks is like that's just not evil. That he's just a benevolent ruler. He's actually a really great like noble to serve and be with, but he may have like a little screw loose. Essentially, that's how they explain it in a nutshell. Anyways, the art style of this is if you like I said, if you ever read Trapped in the Dating Simulator and all that, you would understand the art styles are roughly pretty the same. Just Aztec, this one may have more, I guess, softer shading, etc., compared to this one, which is probably more like flat and just more like how to explain this? Yeah. Otherwise, the cover feels essentially exactly the same. You got your it's like not as smooth, but it's still it kind of has a almost a roughness texture. The actual like letterings right here, like Evil Lord, Intergalactic Empire. This is all like bumpy, etc. It actually kind of pops out. Same with Basic Ape here, but you also got the nice like just non-text letter cover art, which is nice to have. Just to, I guess, stare at it. I mean, this is just one of the kind of art styles that I have. It's just in black and white, and the reason I'm not showing the color pages is it does have it. It's just your guys, you're horny. All of you are pretty horny. Yeah, it's pretty nice. He basically, I mean, eventually later on, he gets to be taught essentially the way to Flash, but it's basically made up BS. But somehow Liam masters it, and now he's just super like godlike, and now his like master doesn't believe it. Is like it just tries to BS his way through. So he leaves, eventually comes back in volume 2, but he doesn't believe that Liam is essentially became like super powerful and all that. But yeah, and there was a whole like, and like I said, I also mentioned the guide. The guide is essentially what Liam calls this like being. He wears a suit, like white fedora. You can't really see his like eyes, but he essentially made Liam in his previous life miserable, and he feeds off like misery and despair in that aspect. But Liam has nothing but gratitude for the guide, which hurts him and does demoralize his power. He doesn't mention like a dog or something like that, but that dog's probably seen as like the spirit of good, which kind of counteracts the guides and effects essentially. But yeah, essentially like volume 2 starts with the guide meddling, just switching a couple information because Liam has more money and wealth and power compared to this other family, which is actually like on the brink of destruction. I just recommend, but yeah, I would personally just recommend reading this. It's nice, it's entertaining. There is a third volume coming out I don't know, fairly soon, but definitely this year at November 15th. And no official cover or official English cover has been released, but I assume it's gonna be a regular release. Trapped in Dating Simulator currently has 4 volumes currently, so I would assume this one keep getting new volumes. But I do enjoy it. I recommend to anyone who just likes Trapped in the Dating Simulator. It has some similarities in some aspects, like with the mechs. It does have mechs too. It has like piloted mecha suits. They're smaller, probably like Gundam Seed size roughly, if not smaller actually. But they're not like Trapped in a Dating Simulator kind of size and all that. It's just some parts skip time here and there, but hey, it's enjoyable. I'd say 8 out of 10. It's pretty nice. Peace.